Okay, my name is Nima Hadidi, and I'm going to be speaking on the 2014 celebrity iCloud photo leak, and to what extent is privacy a dying luxury as a result of the digital era. So I will be comparing that real life situation to that knowledge question and discussing that knowledge question until I reach a conclusion. So first, let's start by describing the situation, and I'll also discuss why it is important. On August 31st, 2014, over 500 photos of dozens of celebrities were leaked onto the message board 4chan by anonymous users. The actors and actresses ranged from very little known to very famous, such as Jennifer Lawrence, who is one of the most targeted victims. So these images rapidly circulated around the internet. Celebrities were just finding out that their nude photos were put on the internet from reading news articles about them as the whole thing happened, and they were just watching their intimate photos become public entertainment. The leak was frequently discussed in many tabloids and media publications, which ironically just made the situation worse as it gave it more publicity. And as the publicity grew, celebrities involved had their private photos viewed more and more. So here's Jennifer Lawrence, one of the biggest targets, and one of the quotes she said in regard to the whole situation was that it is not a scandal and it is a sex crime. Um, and whether or not you agree with this statement, I personally do. It's an argument for another time. This event reminded us of one increasingly popular idea due to the digital era, and that idea is that privacy is dead. But really, is it? First of all, we need to define what privacy is. So, privacy, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, is a state of being away from public attention, and it's also freedom from unauthorized intrusion. So, on the yes side of things, in regards to the example that I was just discussing with Jennifer Lawrence and the other celebrities, Apple was never really hacked in any way, so to speak. The way that the images were found was by using a basic code to brute force the password because the password was not limited in how many times you could use it. In other words, it was a very silly mistake on the side of Apple to not include a security measure which would limit how many times a person could try the password. And that poor security measure can put some blame on Apple for the whole thing. But others would say that maybe the reason why Apple would not put so many security measures is because we let them, because we personally don't take our own privacy very seriously, and the way that our companies act is a reflection of how we feel about privacy as individuals. So I accept the terms and conditions is a statement we read very frequently, and most people accept those terms and conditions without reading it apparently. Only 7% of people actually read the text that they're agreeing to. In a survey commissioned by Scandia, this was found. And 1 in 5, 20% of people report being harmed by this habit. Yet nonetheless, 60%, or 58% to be exact, almost 6 out of 10 adults, said that they would rather read a mundane instruction manual than online terms. We very much don't take these online terms seriously because we don't really see a need to, because it's more convenient for us not to. But I'll get more into that later. So first of all, maybe we just don't care. That's one way of looking at it, and some people might say that especially young people, the large majority of people clearly don't care to protect their privacy. Uh, this isn't entirely true. We do. In a study conducted in 2010 at UC Berkeley, it was found that adults aged 18 to 24 showed a high level of concern for their privacy. In another study by the Annenberg Center, 70% of adults aged 18 to 34, the group titled the Millennials, said that they believe that no one should be able to view their personal info or web behavior. Comparing this to age group above, which was 77% of adults, it doesn't seem that there's any discrepancy between young people and old people in this regard. Instead, it seems that still, regardless, a majority of people do not think that there's an excuse for their information to be viewed. So what gives? Why is this not reflected in how we act in regards to social media and the way that we really seem to be giving up our own privacy? Well, one thing that people might say is that it's because these are just big companies that everybody's using, and so we see that if they were to be deceptive or not trustworthy, certainly so many other people wouldn't be trusting them. And this is flawed logic because nonetheless, corporations such as Apple and Google and Facebook have all been caught taking information from users, uh, sometimes without their consent and other times without fully making them aware. And usually, though, this occurs with the consent of the users in some degree based on the terms that they sign to before using the service. The issue comes in that people just don't really read into these things and they consent without proper knowledge. And that's why this contradicts the aforementioned study concerning 70% of young people not wanting their internet usage or personal info revealed to anyone. Because it's more convenient to just hit accept and use the site than to worry about what the terms are. We just accept that most likely the terms aren't going to affect us very much. And in this sense, privacy is not dead, because while we are giving up our information, this isn't unauthorized intrusion like the definition of privacy would say. So we still are giving the authorization for this intrusion, we're just not fully looking into what we are doing. In that sense, it's not so much that our privacy is being infringed on, but rather that we're giving it up. So in the story mentioned at the beginning, this really wasn't the case, because these were celebrities and they were just being seeked out and then their images were being shown to everyone. It wasn't so much that they were just giving up a piece of their privacy without really looking into it. And for the most part, we consent to giving out our personal info even though we claim that we wouldn't. We say that we're not really comfortable with everybody knowing this stuff about us, but nonetheless, if a website asks for it and we'd still like to use that website, we will give that up, for the most part. And why is that? Because it's easy and my friends do it. Privacy matters, but keeping up matters more. It's not that people don't care about privacy, but we are so quick to sacrifice it for other benefits. And one great instance of looking at this can be seen with the NSA conspiracy, which occurred way back in 2013, when Eric Snowden leaked information revealing that the NSA was spying on innocent people purely out of suspicion, which was a clear violation of those people's privacies. The NSA was simply going through normal people's info and trying to see if they were trying to do any kind of terrorist activities. None of the information that they found led to anything productive, but when Eric Snowden revealed this, he revealed something big about the NSA, and so this became a huge issue to the public. But, funny enough, even 3 years later, very little has changed about anything about the way that NSA runs, which is ironic because such a huge deal was made out of it at the time, how we were so against our privacy being violated and whatnot, but so little has been done. The NSA is still allowed to collect any information it wants on anyone, the only difference being that now it can only hold onto that information for up to 5 years, without justification for it. In that 5 years, if they do find a justification, they are now allowed to hold onto it however long they want. And why has nothing changed? Because despite most people saying in surveys that they do not agree with the types of actions performed by the NSA, we'll tolerate such a thing for convenience, to keep up with friends, to continue using social media and other websites which ask for such information because we see the benefit worth it. Our rights to privacy might be being violated, but we are doing virtually nothing to prevent that because we perceive access to the internet and other benefits to be worth such a loss. And to most of us, to that 80% in comparison to 20% who regret this kind of thing, as mentioned in the earlier Annenberg study, for that 80%, this is worth it because we don't end up regretting it. So back to that celebrity scandal that I was discussing earlier at the beginning. The photos were found on celebrities' iCloud accounts. Avoiding the entire scandal would have been as simple as disabling iCloud for those celebrities. And this often becomes confused with victim shaming. I'm not saying that those celebrities were responsible, but especially for celebrities, leaving such images online is risky. And regardless of whether or not it should be, it is. And the mere fact that that is true means that privacy is to at least some extent dead. But what we also have to take in mind before we define that extent is that these were celebrities in this situation. These are people who the media constantly objectifies and makes into tales and people to be followed, but we dehumanize them so quickly that it's not surprising that something like this would happen to them. It's not surprising that the media would hop on this, and so would people, and this would become such a large story. But for most people, this isn't so much a threat. Your average person isn't going to have their nude images leaked to the whole world. If they're leaked to a small amount of people, it wouldn't be nearly as catastrophic, although it still would be a violation. In any case, the internet has created a world in which privacy has seen a decrease in exchange for convenience. Personal information is now accessible online, and governments and corporations do not hesitate to track people. This is seen with Facebook, Google, Apple, and the NSA, where people will just track us because it's what we allow them to do. But at the same time, we can't say that privacy is fully dead, because I can close my laptop or my cell phone whenever I want to, and so can you. At any time, we can choose to disconnect. And for most of us being those of us whose careers or lives do not in some other way rely on social media, this is relatively harmless. The choice to sacrifice privacy in the digital era is exactly that, a choice, and it is always left to the individual. A 1984-esque society is a distant nightmare. That being said, though, it still is something worth fearing. Because privacy may not be quite dead, but this is a slippery slope, and it is absolutely essential that people be aware of the extent to which they are sacrificing privacy. There's not really a need to remind you why this is true. If you look back to any dictatorship recently or in the last 100 years, you can see that one of the first things that's lost is privacy. In George Orwell's book 1984, one of the first things that's lost is privacy. It's often a thing that is lost before other things also go. And it's something that humans need to make sure that they hold on to and do not let fully leave. So privacy is at risk, but it's alive for now. So let's keep it that way. Maybe by starting by actually reading those terms and conditions. Thank you.